Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Burn Bootcamp podcast. My name is DK, visionary, and I'm a co-founder as well. And just so excited that you guys are here back with us again for another episode. Today, I wanted to talk with you about 3 tips to overcome any obstacle that you have, okay? Any obstacle in your life, anything that comes in your way, anything that gets in the way of you reaching your fullest potential. We want to talk about 3 ways for you to be able to get over that. And listen, I am very familiar with how to overcome obstacles because that has been my entire life's journey. That is how all of our stories are shaped, right? So how do we overcome obstacles? How do we step over the things that are in our way, go around it, go under it, break through it, and then how do we see ourselves at the next mountain peak after that, right? We all go through the peaks, we all go through the valleys, and when you're going through things, you've got to have a philosophy. When you're trying to overcome obstacles, you're not just going to magically be able to, wish your way through adversity. You have to have a strategy through adversity. And if adversity has gotten the best of you in the past, that's likely because you haven't had a strategy. So open up your ears. If you're not driving, open up your iPhones or your notebooks, and let's talk about 3 tips to overcome obstacles. And let's give you that philosophy, because inevitably we're going to keep going through them, and you want to be able to be equipped. You want to be able to have a strong set of your mindset, belief systems. Here they are. Here's 3 of them. Number 1, focus on overcoming obstacles in the lens of 3 months, not 3 days. That's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is play the long game. And then tip number 3 is never make mountains out of molehills. Okay, let me just go through this and explain what I mean, and hopefully you really get something from this. And if you do, please let us know in the reviews, because podcast reviews are like our oxygen. We need it. We need to know how you're doing out there in Burn Nation. We need to know that this stuff is resonating with you and how we can better serve you. So please do that. Make sure you subscribe, all that good stuff, because we've got a lot of goodness coming at you. Let's get into it, okay? 3 months, not 3 days. Tip number 1. So how do you overcome obstacles? My number 1 tip for this is frame the problem in 3 months, not 3 days. Now, what do I mean from that? You've got a big obstacle in front of you, okay? Let's just use a work context. You know that you're going to have to go in and you're going to have a really hard conversation with somebody at your job. You're a leader, you're a manager, you're going to have, or you're a parent. Let's say you have to have a really hard conversation with your child. Any hard conversation, the most common obstacle that we have as human beings is we are afraid of confrontation. We are afraid of that obstacle. So let's talk about how to overcome that. I want you to frame the outcome of that conversation and what will come of it. Not 3 minutes after the conversation, not 3 days after the conversation, but 3 months after the conversation. Open up your perspective, okay? Open up your perspective. Be able to see further down the road. If I have to come in and have a really confrontational conversation with somebody because they're not upholding the core values and the position that they're at as in the family or in the business, well then, I love this person or else they wouldn't be around me. I really don't want to hurt their feelings. I don't want to cause them any pain. I don't want to cause them any suffering. And empathy can be a blessing and can be a curse. It's the reason why we're able to be a great leader, but it's also the reason why we're able to sweep stuff under the rug because we don't want to hurt people's feelings. And I don't want you to hurt people's feelings either. But the best friends in the world, your best friends in the world, aren't the people who are just going to tell you everything is okay when you come to them and say, I'm not okay. They're going to be the people that say, yeah, you're not okay. We got to figure this thing out, man, because you're miserable. And I can see that, and you're not being yourself. And so let's handle this, right? Those are the friends, the true friends are the ones that tell you the truth about the situation that we're in. And so if you're going to be a true friend, a true leader, you've got to be like, if you think not confronting people is going to help your family, help your organization, you're sadly mistaken. It's going to be poison to your organization. So 3 months, not 3 days, means have that conversation, confront that person in a way where you are anticipating what the relationship is going to be like 3 months down the road, 90 days down the road, not 3 minutes after you have the conversation. Because 3 minutes after you have the conversation, you're going to be fired up. They're going to be fired up. your emotion is going to be at an all-time high. And if an emotion creates emotion, and emotion creates motion, and vice versa, right? And so if I'm going to have this heightened emotion in the moment, well, I might not make the decision to have the conversation because the heightened emotion in the moment is one that's on the negative spectrum of emotion, and we don't like to feel negative emotion, okay? But we know that the long run, we know that if 3 months down the road, this person, takes the advice and they become a better leader and they step up from that, well, now everybody that they're responsible for is now also going to be better for you having that conversation. So don't frame it in 3 months, frame it in 3 days. Or don't frame it in 3 days, frame it in 3 months rather. Makes sense? Say yes. Okay. Number 2 is play the long game. Now, this one is a cousin to number 1. Play the long game. Now, this isn't on any individual decision. This is a macro philosophy for you as a whole, is obstacles only hurt if you're playing the short game. This is the classic short-term sacrifice for long-term gain. You know that if you do the right things in the kitchen, if you minimize the amount of calories that you're consuming from grams of sugar, and you maximize the amount of calories that you're consuming from grams of protein, your body composition is going to thank you, right? You're going to have less body fat. You're going to have more lean muscle mass, given that you're working out, and your body is going to thank you for that. You're going to feel better. You're going to have more energy. When you have more energy, you have more to give, right? So for Morgan and I and the rest of the Burn Bootcamp organization, we play the long game. Okay, we play the rocking chair game. What do I want to say to my grandchildren when I'm 85 years old and my heyday is said and done? It's over, right? I'm on the descent, right? I'm going to zero like we all are eventually, and I'm living my best life in a period of time where I'm supposed to have no regrets. I'm supposed to have left everything on the table by the time you're 80, 85 years old and you're sitting in that rocking chair. What do I want my grandchildren to say? What answers do I want to have to their questions that they ask? I want to make them proud. I want to make them happy. I want to make the Kline name mean something to them. This is what playing the long game is. And when you make decisions through the lens of how people are going to feel, how you're going to feel 3 months after, where the organization, where the family's going to be 3 months after the decision, not 3 days, right? And you're playing that long game. Okay, now my shortest touch point that I have is 3 months, and my real long game is the 10 to 20 year game. So I'm not going to, as a man, as a person who wants to sit on my rocking chair at 80 years old and have my grandchildren ask me, what do you regret? And I want my answer emphatically to be nothing. I don't regret anything. I left it all on the table. If I want that to be my answer, I know that I've got to, in the short run today, I have to reframe time. I've got to reframe time. A 3-month time frame, a 3-month outlook has to become short. Okay, I can no longer be hostage to the emotions of the moment. That's what we're saying. When you're hostage to the emotions of the moment, you're never going to make decisions that are good for you in the long run. So play the long game, run the filter back. Hey, what am I going to have to say to my grandchildren at 80 years old on this one, okay? And then finally, number 3, and this is where most people go wrong. I've given you 2 strategies that are going to help you frame your worldview and your perspective when it comes to having hard conversations, overcoming obstacles, having hard decisions. Now, this is a super short-term one. Number 3 is a short-term one. And that's, do not make mountains out of molehills. People tend to take one thing and make that one thing everything. They tend to take a small, insignificant problem and then boil that up to the top of their worldview and say, oh, this one problem is everything. And you've probably seen people in your life do this before. Let's not make problems bigger than they are. Let's take problems for what they actually are. And what they actually are opportunities for us to not have to feel pain again, right? If we can create a strategy to solve the problem, what would happen theoretically is that strategy is a process to never have to repeat the pain again. Follow what I'm saying? So if we're constantly running around making mountains out of molehills, meaning one little tiny thing goes wrong in the day, then all of a sudden the entire day is derailed. Who feels that, right? Who's woken up in the morning and the first thing that you have to deal with in the morning is this problem, this fire that you have to put out, and it's the worst problem that you've had in the last couple weeks, and it just absolutely derails. Could be even your day, or even your week, or even your month. Imagine that, right? Like, take audit really quickly of how often you let one thing ruin everything. We can't do that anymore. We can't let one thing ruin everything. We've got to peel back, okay, or layer back the amount of emphasis that we're putting on a singular obstacle in our life and ask ourselves the question, how important is this really in the grand scheme of things? And how much time, attention, effort, and energy should I put towards this? And if I didn't solve it, what would happen? And if I did solve it, what would happen? And try to take things more at face value, for what they really are, not what you manufacture that they could possibly be. Because here's what I know to be absolutely 100% true. 99% of the things that we worry about in the future never come to fruition anyways. And so if the vast majority of anxiety, of even depression, anxiety in its heightened form, if this stems from worrying about the future, okay, well then behind worrying about the future is making small problems everything. Worrying that something small today is going to be huge tomorrow. Okay? 3 tips for you right there. 3 months, not 3 days. Play the long game. Don't make mountains out of molehills. These are 3 tips for overcoming any obstacle in your life. Not right, not wrong, just the way that I do it, and wanted to share that with you today. So I hope you've had an amazing start to your day so far, or finish to your day, depending on where you're at. And thank you for being here. Make sure that you comment if you see something on social media, or that you leave us a review on any of your favorite podcast platforms. Until next time, everybody, keep moving. 2 claps on 2. 1, 2.